This must be
Welcome back to Pillars of Franchising. As promised, we have Rich Moyer with Hoppin Brands on with us today. Rich, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Hey, so Hoppin Brands, this is a high-end, high-tech brewery that allows people to pour their own beer, right?
Yeah, we're not technically a brewery because we don't actually brew our own beer, but we work locally with local breweries, regional breweries, and then breweries across the world.
Awesome. And you are the founder and CEO of the company. Can you tell us, how did you come to this idea?
Yeah, the idea itself was actually introduced to me by another individual at the time, a friend of mine, and he saw the technology in a different city and was like, hey, would you ever want to open up a bar in Charlotte? And I had just recently sold my first company, and I was like, there's no chance I would get in the bar industry. I don't really drink a lot in general anyway, and then I like to go to bed early, wake up early, and go play golf. I don't want to be up all night. But then I saw the technology, and that I started to see an opportunity for a more tech-driven opportunity for bar owners and restaurant owners that would eliminate kind of 95% of a bar owner's headaches with employees stealing, waste, etc. So I thought of technology, and it was something that Charlotte never had. I saw an opening and an opportunity.
That's awesome. So coming into this, can you tell us a little bit about your history? What did you do before Hoppin?
Yeah, growing up was always in sports, so very competitive, and I got into the golf industry in high school, which led me going into that as a career. So out of high school, I went down to Myrtle Beach, became a Class A PGA Professional, and ran golf courses. During that, for 6.5 years, once I got my PGA certification, I realized that all my members were playing golf and I was working. So I started asking, what do you guys do for a living? And they were either in sales or they work for themselves. So I quickly started to poke holes and ask, anybody hiring, opportunities, and in Myrtle Beach, there wasn't a lot of opportunity, so I saw more opportunity in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I moved, got into sales, which led me to outside sales. That led me to start my first company in 2014 when I was 26 years old. That company grew rapidly. It was in the construction industry. I was just a broker of services, or I like to say, I was just trading paper.
Yep.
And for the most part, that portion of my life was working 18, 19 hours a day, 7 days a week. So no partying, no going out, no weddings, no friends' birthdays, all that stuff was on the back burner. But I did that for 3 years, and 2 months into my fourth year of business, I sold it for multi-millions.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. The freedom, that was in February 2017. In 2016, I started a homemade ice cream shop with two of my best friends here in Charlotte. It's just something fun, which ended up being very lucrative. We have 6 locations with 3 more opening up. I've invested in residential real estate, commercial real estate, tech companies all throughout the years, and a lot of my focus has always been on Hoppin. All the other ones are more just investments. And Hoppin founded in February of 2017 when I sold my company, and we opened our first location in December of 2017.
Well, you're a mover and a shaker.
Absolutely.
It's a sick problem.
Yeah. I love it. But you take ideas, creative ideas and put them into action. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the difference. My parents always told me an idea is just an idea. Somebody to put action behind it.
Yeah. So I'd love to know, what's your value proposition for franchises?
For Hoppin?
Yeah, for Hoppin. What's the value proposition for someone to buy in?
Yeah, the value prop for the brand itself is we eliminate, like I said, 90-95% of a typical bar owner's headaches with our technology. We've simplified what the process of a normal bar is. We've eliminated the biggest headache, which is your back of house. So your food and cook your back of house, which we work with local partners, food trucks, or neighboring restaurants. So we've eliminated that, but we've created a way to keep food. And then also on the flip side, we handle all the marketing. So at the high level for the franchisees and the franchisor level, we are a marketing company. But at the consumer level, we're an experience company. So yeah, your typical bar national average is 23% of every keg is wasted. We have ours around 3 or 4%.
Wow.
Wow. Is that based on the way they pour the beer? I mean, sometimes they stand there and the head's pouring off and you're like, dude, that was like 2 beers right there you let go. Is that the kind of waste that you're talking about?
Yeah, there's that waste, which is probably the majority of it. And then just bartenders giving drinks away for free or drinking on the job. We charge for every 1/10 of an ounce that is poured out of our taps. So every 1/10 of an ounce that pours out is going on somebody's credit card. And if it's not on somebody's credit card, it's on somebody's employee card. So at that point, we know exactly who's pouring what and at what time, and we can control, as the owners or as managers, we can control to make sure that people aren't giving things away.
Wow. Okay, so this changes everything because I worked in and around the restaurant industry, but I always said, oh gosh, I just don't think I could do I'll call it at this point a restaurant, right? And then I have some friends who have bars and liquor stores, and I'm like, man, how do you do it? And I watch when I've gone in there some of the shenanigans that happen with the bartenders, and I'm like, wow, I don't know. But it sounds like you have this all figured out. I mean, is this would you consider this concept something for somebody who's never been in the bar restaurant industry? Is it accessible to them?
Yeah, like I said, we're an experience company. So we actually, internally, we do not hire any career bartenders or people that were in the industry. We hire based off of their attitude, their personality, and how much fun they can have while they're with us, right? Because 70-ish% of everything that's poured out of our tap rooms are poured directly from our self-serve tap wall. And then we have full cocktail bars at some locations. All locations moving forward will have full cocktail bars. But yes, we prefer non-restaurant tours. Not that we don't prefer restaurant tours or bar owners, but the mentality around bars, like I grew up in Myrtle, or not grew up, but I went to college in Myrtle Beach. All my friends were bartenders. Mm-hmm. I could watch them give away, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of alcohol in the 4 years that I was out.
Yeah. So
seeing that was one reason I didn't want to get into the bar industry.
Yeah.
So how many people do you have then, let's say, in each location? Kind of what does that staffing model look like then? Yeah,
typically anywhere from 7 to 12 employees total. It'll be a full-time manager, an assistant manager, an events manager if you're not going to be an owner-operator, which none of our franchisees are. It's just the model's not set up that way. It's more set up for an investor manager. But yeah, 7 to 12. If you're not going to be fully involved, you'll want an events manager. Events or corporate events, private party are a big portion of our revenue when it comes to weekday revenue. And then outside of that, everybody else is part-time. And our employees do very, very well. Managers are on a smaller salary. All the other hourly employees are at $3 an hour, and they'll make anywhere from $20 to, they made $100 an hour from a corporate party recently. So easy to find good people.
Interesting. So how long is it from the time that someone says yes, and you vetted them and they said, yes, I want to open one of these, to actually opening one?
Yeah, in the current world we live in with construction going crazy and the delays in permitting, and especially the cities we're looking in are the fastest growing cities in the U.S., so they're just booming in general. So getting permits can be 3 to 6 months in itself. We say on the low end 12 months, and that's if the stars align and everything looks perfect. On average, it's going to be about 18 months. On the longer end is 24 months.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, I've watched restaurants in my community sit there. I'm like, what is going on? And it's all permits. It's crazy, some of the red tape you have to go through, especially I would think if you've got a facility that also sells liquor in addition to beer. So let's talk a little bit about, because I've gone through the website and I looked at some of these build outs, and the facilities, the places are beautiful. They're really nice. They're hip, upscale, kind of geared towards a young-ish crowd. Is that what the demographic is that you're seeking right now? Kind of upscale?
The bulk, our Thursday through Sunday crowd, the bulk of that is 22 to 35. But like I said, because we do drive corporate events so heavily, you you get a corporate event where it might be the 35 and up, 35 to 60, they come out and then they're like, man, this place is awesome, I've never heard about it. And then they continually come or bring their kids there or whatever it may be. So it is a broad range, but our core clientele is that 22 to 35.
Okay. I was looking through some of your stuff, and I don't know how recent it is, but you were saying that I'll have you talk about the cost, but you're kind of looking for $250K liquid. I would think for a brick and mortar place, the price of build outs, you're going to need more than that, would you say, today?
Yeah, I mean, for an SBA loan, the cost, I mean, yes, it's a little bit more now. You're probably 300 to 400 liquid, just because of the SBA loan, and that's something we have to update on our website. But that's when we made that website, the costs were kind of a little bit lower, and that's what we based them off of. But just inflation and SBA, interest rates, everything being more expensive now, everything's gone up. But the all-in build-out cost is anywhere from $1 million to $1.8 million before any tenant improvement allowance you get back.
Okay. What I know you can't say specifically, but an estimated range, what are you seeing for these folks to be able to do the payback period and start actually generating positive income?
Yeah, our first location, year one, it's in our item 19. We did $1.8 million.
Okay.
So that location, my all-in cost was $800,000. I would have been paid back. If I didn't take the money to invest in future locations, I would have been paid back in about 16 months. But legally, I'm gonna have to cut that out of the podcast. But
we talk about your corporate location, and it's in the item 19, so there's nothing wrong with that. We're not talking about franchisees or any of their business. So
but then we do have like our location in Greenville, which I always tell all of our candidates it was a learning lesson. It was something we needed to do before we opened up to franchising. We are a 2-minute drive and a 20-minute walk away from where all the other bars and restaurants are. And that makes a huge difference. That changed that from a $700,000 location. If it was around all the other bars and restaurants where everybody's going out to hang out, that's a $1 million+ location.
Wow.
So that's a learning lesson for us. Still profitable, but it's more just a break-even location.
Yeah, that's interesting. So when you're looking at identifying the perfect candidate, I know you've talked about this being more of an investor model. So who is your ideal candidate in this particular brand?
Yeah, obviously the best candidate we can find is franchisees, people that already have multi-units, they're already franchises, they know the game, they understand it, and it makes the decision process and everything just shorter. So that's the most ideal, and they want to expand their portfolio, diversify it, have multi-units and other things. Next is an investor group or a group of 2 or 3 that want to open up multi-units. So all of our franchisees moving forward, the goal is multi-unit operators. Just makes a lot more sense for us, makes a lot more sense for them.
Easier for you to support, isn't it? I mean, I would think so. A lot of times when people are looking at, where to invest their money, they do take a look at the support that a franchisor is going to provide. Tell us a little bit about the support that you provide, not only initially and also ongoing.
Yeah, initially, obviously we're an emerging brand. I'm very involved with all of our candidates from the day that they have the first phone call with us all the way through their grand opening. So initially, I'm very involved. My operations team is very involved. Training-wise, they'll spend a week out here to train. Then their grand opening week, our team will spend a week out there to be them through grand opening week and train their hourly staff. After grand opening, pre-grand opening, all the marketing, digital marketing is handled by us. We provide them a game plan, what they have to do on their local markets with kind of more guerrilla marketing, corporate marketing, getting in the community. But marketing side, when they open, we handle all their ad spend, all the digital marketing. They have a direct marketing lead.
Wow.
A little bit different than your typical franchise. It is a double-edged sword for us. If they're successful, they don't have any complaints. If they're not, it's all marketing's fault.
Oh, yeah.
So it's something
that works.
Yeah, it's something that we are very passionate about, that we are a marketing company, because you can go get a drink at any bar in the area. What differentiates us from the other bars in the area, it's the marketing that we do, the branding that we do, and then at the consumer level, the experience that the franchisees provide to the consumers. So yeah, support-wise, event-wise, we have our director of events, sales and events. Actually, she supports throughout pre-opening and after opening. Our operations team, their support there. There's a marketing lead, and then there's an operations lead for any operations questions. And then we have a learning management software, and we call knowledge base, where everything that we do is in there. So every single employee can search on their phone how to make a cocktail, whatever it is. It'll be in there to pop up in seconds. So just kind of keep everything tech forward with what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, I am excited to learn more about this high-tech tap room concept that you guys have created. And we'll be right back in a couple minutes after commercial, and we're going to talk about your culture, some of the hardcore data, and I'm really curious about how you choose the beers. So we'll be right back after this.
Hey franchise owners, how's your local marketing? Do you feel like you could use some help keeping up with your social media posts and comments and reviews? Do you wonder if you could be doing more to attract local customers? Are you able to identify new move-ins to your local area? At Westbine, we help franchisees like you reach more local customers through digital marketing. With daily monitoring, creative content, and ad placement, and customer data intelligence, we'll get your business in front of the people who want your products or services. We also work with franchisors who need an agency to handle the digital marketing for all of their locations. If you're ready to reach more local customers, give us a call at 805-265-5440 or visit us at westbine.com. That's 805-265-5440 or westbine.com.
And thanks for joining us. We're back with Rich Moyer of Hoppin Brands. The high-tech industry has nothing on these taproom concepts that he's got going on, and who wouldn't love an investor model with very low touch involvement from the owners? Rich, welcome back.
Thanks.
So let's talk a little bit about how these beers get changed, because when I was reading about your company, I'm like, wow, these are mostly all local brews, right?
Yeah, it's a range. We do focus locally just because that's one of our core values is partnering with local. But we have regional, national, and beers from across the world.
So I want to know who gets to choose the beer.
Yeah, the manager or assistant manager. Corporately, we have our Charlotte locations. We actually have somebody that does all the ordering for both. Our Greenville location, our manager does that. So, but we provide a very kind of strict way of handling ordering, and it's not what you get to order, but it's how, because all the distribution sales reps or the brewery sales reps, they're sales reps, so they will bother the managers and come in and talk to them first. So we kind of set the controls on how we want to run our business that way, so our managers can be focused on other important things. But yeah, they get to choose. We just provide the data and all the numbers to say, here's the top sellers at each location. You guys can pick. Obviously, we don't understand the local markets as well as the franchisees will, so their managers will know which local beers and breweries are selling the best.
Oh, Karen, we got to get one of these in Chicago, and then we can be the tasters.
Exactly. So at Chicago, anything happening in the Chicagoland area?
Yeah, we're registered in Chicago. Finally got registered about a month or two ago. So we've actually had a few conversations. Somebody was just here recently that visited for a visit. So they had a great visit. We'll see if they move forward. They were here last weekend, I think.
Wow. We can be part of the marketing team, right? The tasting and the marketing team. I like it.
If they sign, you gotta have them you gotta tell them to get on the show, and we can talk about their process of building out and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And Karen and I, we can assess the quality of beer that they chose, right, Karen?
Exactly.
So let's talk about the kind of culture that you have. Obviously, this is your baby, right? You've had it, and by the way, congratulations on your new baby. So in addition to a real new baby, you have this baby as a business. How do you infuse the type of culture that you want into this organization, especially as you have such aggressive growth plans?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I actually tell everybody I'm growing two babies at once.
One is hard enough, right?
Yeah, a real one, and then a business. The franchising is a different world than just businesses. But yeah, so culture-wise, I have a lot of my staff has been with me from day one, from when I opened the first location, or when we opened up our second location. The people we hired for that have been with us from day one. My manager in Greenville was with me from day one and was working as hourly employee and became our manager and moved down there to Greenville. So I think culture-wise starts at the top, and it's going to be from me and my team to the franchisees, and then from the franchisees down to their managers, and so on and so on. But I've always lived that my employees don't work for me, I work for them. So everybody has the triangle, the pyramid, or whatever you want to call it, where the CEO is at the top. I flip it upside down. I'm at the bottom. If my frontline employees are happy, they're being taken care of, that means the customers are happy. Everybody says the customer is the most important. That's, again, a lie. I think the most important people are your employees.
I agree.
Happy,
Me too.
and your customers aren't happy. So that's kind of the culture in a short explanation, but it really comes down to the leadership, and how can we recreate that through all franchisees, because every franchisee may come from a different background or different experience, and how do we create that culture, and a lot of that's in our core values, what we preach, and then just with our kind of check-ins and our site visits, our team will be looking out for that, because that's one of the most important things. It's just the vibe and how fun it is. There's a reason our tagline is beer, cocktails, and good vibes.
Yeah, and I love that, by the way. Good vibes is really cool.
I was thinking about the whole, when you talk about investors, because sometimes it's easier to have a culture when you have an investor that's in the business, and you're vetting them that way. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned if it's just an investor, they're looking at this as more of a financial transaction. Yep. So then how do you vet for culture and fit as well?
Yeah. So most of those investors have teams underneath them. Mm-hmm. We require that we have to meet with whoever is going to be the person running the teams and operations, and then they'll have obviously an on-site manager, but they'll usually have a regional manager or some type of regional operations person underneath them. We're speaking with a group in Austin, Texas, and they have multiple brands, and we require that the person that is running it is on the call as well, because that's who our team can be dealing with, and that's who's going to be dealing with and implementing kind of the culture. And we also, again, train their managers and assistant managers. So it's something that we'll instill in everybody that throughout training.
I think that's so important. I mean, and I'll just say I go to the overpriced but favorite coffee shop, right? And yesterday, yes, guilty, I went to 3 of them. And it was amazing, the difference in how the service was delivered, the kind of the vibe that you got off the employees. And as I sat at the third one, I thought, wow, okay, so of these 3, 1 has it together, and I happen to know one of the gals that works there, and the other 2 were just like, what is going on? And so I think that as you grow a brand like Hoppin, I mean, wow, you just have to be so particular about that everyone believes in the upside down triangle, and everyone understands what it means to put the employee first, so that those employees only worry about putting the customer first.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you nailed it on the head, and it'll be tough as we grow, and the more locations we open, and trying to kind of hold all that into the same expectation across the board. But it's just a good vibe. It's fun. It's hiring the right people with the right attitude. I bring it. Yeah. My rules are very simple. No drinking on the job, no stealing. Make sure the place is really clean at all times. And then the third one is have fun. If you're not in a good mood, or you are really just having a bad day, and you don't think that coming to work is going to make your day better, call in. We don't mind if you call off for the day. We'd rather you call off for the day than come in and create bad vibes for our customers and for other employees, because all that rubs off. Yeah,
for sure. You don't need Eeyore there. Well, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, there's a couple questions that I have. Obviously, there are some things to overcome when you're an emerging brand. So for your particular case, have you found lending these days to be a little more challenging, and certain lenders just won't touch emerging brands? What are you finding as a founder?
Yeah, definitely, especially with interest rates the way they are right now. I would say a year ago, things were a lot easier. But yeah, definitely a little bit harder for getting SBA loans if people are not truly fully qualified. If they were kind of just meeting the limits or requirements before and then things change a little bit, it made it a lot harder. But Fran Fund is somebody we're also working with, has been pretty flexible, which has been nice. But yeah, hopefully we're going into some rate reductions and dropping next year, but who knows with what we have going on.
Yeah. So as an emerging brand, what do you think is the most critical part for someone who's looking to invest in Hoppin? What do you think on the FTD is the most important part for them to look at? What do you think tells the story of the brand?
Yeah, our FTD is still pretty limited since we only have 2 corporate locations on there, and then the first franchisee didn't open until June of this year. So there's not a lot of information on there that is really going to drive their decision. They're on the FTD. I think the biggest driver is going to be meeting our team, meeting me as the founder. You do business with people you like. I feel like that's the most important thing. We're very transparent, very open. I've told individuals, it's probably not the right fit for them, but here's a franchise broker that I would recommend, or a consultant, and then here is some brands that I might recommend. So we're very open, very transparent. We know that not everybody's going to be the best fit for us, and vice versa. We might not be the best fit for them. I think the biggest thing is definitely meeting our team, coming, seeing it in person, and then on the flip side, speaking with the franchisees that have already signed on. Why did they sign on? And the ones that have opened or started construction, how has their process been, and let that validate for us.
Yeah, I think the validation process is really important. One thing that I recommend people do who are going into an emerging brand is to really look at, especially if item 19 isn't strong or big enough, be sure to look at the leadership team and where did they come from and what have they done? Have they founded and sold companies in the past? Have they been successful in their their past endeavors? And obviously you have a lot of that. You've shown that at least in 2 cases, you've opened and then turned a huge profit in other companies. And so I think that speaks volumes about you and how you look at growing Hoppin. And so I just encourage people, if you're looking at an emerging brand, that's certainly something to look at. And also the kind of training and support you get, like the marketing that you folks do for them. So I think that's great. So let's just talk kind of brass tacks in terms of what are you looking for overall for people to get started. I know we talked about it being, liquid 300 to 400, 1 mil to 1.8 in terms of build outs. Is that correct, or all in really?
Yeah, all in cost.
Okay. And what other things are you looking for them? Obviously don't want to cannibalize yourself, right? So how are you determining, let's take Tennessee. You just opened, right? You've got 2 locations in the Nashville area. Is there a certain distance that you try to keep the storefronts from each other? How does that work for you?
Yeah, our white space is really limited compared to some other brands because we don't want to cannibalize territories. So city like Nashville, very condensed, but there's different pockets, right?
Yep.
We base every city a little bit different, right? If I'm opening in New York City, I can have multiple locations with pretty close. But if I'm opening in like Rockville, South Carolina, we'll probably only ever be 1 location. It's very, very small population. Honestly, too small for what we're going to be doing moving forward. But yeah, we break it out by territories, and more specifically because we know we want to be around other bars and restaurants. We find the pockets in each city of where those locations are or what is coming, especially big growth cities. Usually there's, hey, the plans over here are going to be in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to grow this whole area to bars and restaurants, and it's going to be the next spot. So you can definitely have multiple locations in cities like Nashville, Charlotte, bigger cities, Dallas, all across the big, fast-growing cities in the U.S. And it really comes down to where are those pockets of bars and restaurants where people are going to hang out. We want to be around every brewery, bar, and restaurant that we can be next to.
Awesome. I have a question from the audience. And they want to know, obviously, if you look at the website, it is a wall of tabs that people go to look at. And do they scan their credit card every pour? Is that how that works?
Yeah, so when you check in, we're a little bit different than any other bar. You know, when you check in, you get greeted by our staff. They're joking around, they're having fun. They're going to check your ID to make sure you're legal age, and then they're going to swipe your credit card and open up a tab. They'll give you an RFID wristband. That wristband is attached to your credit card. We do give you your ID and your wristband or your credit card back. At that point, you can go scan your RFID wristband on any one of our taps and pour 1/10 of an ounce all the way up to a full glass.
Cool. And then is that the same way it works for mixed drinks as well, or does the employee have to do that process?
Yeah, so some states it's legal to have mixed drinks cocktails on draft, so we can do self-serve cocktails. Like in South Carolina, we're allowed to do that. So both of our locations in South Carolina have it. In North Carolina, it's not legalized to do self-serve cocktails, so we have full cocktail bars. And every location moving forward will have a full cocktail bar. Wow.
Boy, Karen, I think we got to get one out here in the burbs.
I totally agree. Totally agree. I love the concept, and I love the innovation, the creativity. I also like the fact that you're focused on culture, which I think is so important because this is a competitive market. Even though people aren't doing exactly what you're doing, you do think about all the different bars. So I really like how you're taking a holistic approach at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so last question. Where do you want to go next? I know there's a lot of space, but is there one city that you'd really just like us to shout out and crush soon?
It's funny, Nashville, if we didn't sign them recently, I would have said Nashville, Tennessee, just because I've been personally looking in Nashville for about 3 years.
Yeah, it's a cool place.
It is.
Yeah. I think Austin, Texas is probably one that we have great conversations going on in Austin right now. Chicago is definitely one just because we've had a lot of interest in Chicago prior to us being registered. Florida, we still have the whole state of Florida open. Tampa, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
It's a hot area right now. Yeah. You're not mentioning anything West Coast.
Yeah, we're not registered in California. I think I'll give it to I'll probably leave that to a PE firm when they come in and buy me out.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point. When they do, don't let them steal your culture. And before anyone goes into California, really, you got to listen to Jerry's segment up next, because that's exactly what he's going to be talking about is the trials and tribulations with joint employer and all that other fun stuff that we got going on. So
they're not business friendly.
No, always not either. I have to be honest.
Yeah, but you know what? We're not as bad. So we don't want to discourage anyone from opening one of these in Chicago.
Yeah, otherwise we wouldn't get to be the
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking for western suburbs for those of you with money who want an investor model. Rich, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I am so excited to see these bars popping up, and the technology is super cool. I love. The biggest fear I always had was theft and just overall what we used to call retail shrink, right, is the inventory issues. So I wish you all the luck in the world, and I know that we've got a lot of listeners out there who are extremely interested in an absentee investor model. So hopefully this perks their ears, and we get them sent your way soon.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, and anybody listening, obviously reach out to you guys.
Yes.
So you guys can get a commission on bringing me a deal.
Oh, there you go. I like
Tell me, again, for people who want to get a hold of you, where do they reach you?
Yeah, me directly, LinkedIn, just search Rich Moyer. If you're looking for our brand, ownahoppin.com is the easiest way to go check out our website. Those are going to be the two easiest ways.
Yeah, and the website has really cool pictures of inside one of the stores too. It's really nice. I have to tell you that your interior designers did good work.
And also a great website, because it really does give you a feel for the culture and what you're looking for in the process.
I'll say that to my copywriter. He did a good job.
Okay.
Well, Rich, we're looking forward to having you on maybe next year to talk a little bit about the growth and success stories, and maybe even some of the growing pains you had. And share with the other people who are in your spot today next year.
Would love it. I'm looking to sign 15 to 20 new locations next year, so be great.
Awesome. All right, you protect that culture.
Yeah.
You got it.
50 graduates resulted in 7 new franchisees owning 8 franchise brands, more than a dozen skilled graduates who are employees of franchise companies, all of them having earned a concentration in franchising exclusively granted by the Titus Center at Palm Beach Atlantic University, plus more than 80 franchise professionals on our advisory board. The Titus Center for Franchising is on fire in West Palm Beach, Florida. What do you need to join us? My students want to hear from you. They may even want to buy your franchise or work for your company. TitusCenter.com.
I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed our show, especially all of the fabulous females in franchising. I'd like to give a huge shout out to our $1 Million Mentor team, Mr. Jerry Akers, Karen Kimsey-Thwart, Mr. Ray Tiller, and a special thank you to Fred McMurray, our producer. I'm Kristen Shalmetzi, your $4 Million Mentor, and together we are your resource for franchising success.